This is Zhiyun's new budget light, the Cinepeer C100, a 100 watt, full power RGB LED bar. And unlike other tube lights at this price range, this has way more features and it's packing a lot more power. If you're looking for that kind of power for a good looking price, keep watching because we have a lot to unpack here. Not only will I go over what this light has to offer, but I'll show you how I ended up using it for portraits and for a studio setup so that you can copy and use those setups for your own creative projects. Zhiyun is not sponsoring this video, but they did reach out and allow me to try their new tube light. As a YouTube creator, I use lights all the time. As someone who used to do a lot more natural light photography and used to have so much pride about not using flash or using external lights, I've come to see how much more important external lights are when going with video. Looking back, lights ended up being much more important than buying and upgrading camera bodies and camera lenses. Had I started investing in lights early, perhaps I wouldn't have bought as much camera gear. Maybe. But for this piece of camera gear, in regards to its packaging, I'm well pleased. We're dealing with a cloth cover bag, nice feeling overall. We got an ID patch, or at least ID slot on the side. On the top of the lid, we'll see that we can stow away things like a grid or a softbox. And on the bottom, on the right hand side, we can see that we have a mounting clamp to be able to attach to a light stand or some kind of vari-pole with a super clamp, of course. On the side closest to us, we can see a charging brick, which is very helpful as it's pretty long. And then of course we have our light. It weighs 1,337 grams and it's 361 millimeters or 1.18 feet. We got the mode button and the power button. I do have a little gripe with the power button, but more on that later. We got two dials that are good for adjusting and selecting our options. Both can be pressed in as well, but for the most part you'll just be turning your dials. In terms of mounting, we have a 1/4 inch 20 thread on both sides, and normally this is where affordable tube lights stop as far as freebies and accessories are concerned. Fortunately, Zhiyun provided helpful and useful accessories. We can turn this light into a softbox by using this diffusion sheet that we can wrap around here. This will help soften the light and make it less harsh. And then of course here are already our barn doors that helped redirect the light and helps control how wide the spill may be. If you want to make sure that it's like not shining onto the background, you can go ahead and just one turn, boop, and you're good. One of my favorite accessories though that it comes with is this grid that you can replace the barn doors with, and this allows for controlling the spill as well, just by redirecting the light straight on and not having to spill onto the sides if you need a much narrower control of the light. But aside from the accessories that we get, what kind of features are we dealing with when we start playing with all the buttons? This light, it's bicolor, so if you want to go ahead and match the lighting of your scene in terms of temperature, you can go ahead and dial this down to 2700 Kelvin or all the way up to 6500 Kelvin. In terms of color accuracy and being able to get a nice good daylight color coming out of this, if you really want to call it a color, we got the CRI rating of 95, the TLC accuracy of 98, and from 1 meter it's 3870 lux power output. And on top of being bicolor, it also gives us RGB, and we can choose whatever color we want in the 360 degree spectrum, or we can go ahead and dial in our RGB effects. This light can already do it all by even helping you fake or even sell the look of your surroundings just with the lighting effects alone. You got your traditional color looping, paparazzi, SOS, TV, lightning, candlelight. But unlike the other tube lights that you'll pick up nowadays on the market, this RGB tube lights a very special way. Zhiyun gives us these RGB effects like color swap, color chase, mono move, bicolor move, tricolor move, rainbow move. You're like, Mike, well, what are these lighting effects? Well, normally you would have your light, just blink one color or maybe flash one color, but the RGB effects that I'm talking about is actually having several colors move along on this tube from left to right. Well, or right to left, depending on how you orient it, or even top to bottom, bottom to top. And you can even fake things like a driving scene, like they have a green screen in the back, and at the side they have like lights that are flashing moving along each side just to help sell the look that they are actually driving. But if you're like me and you're not doing fake driving scenes with a fake background, then you can go ahead and use this for even like a cyberpunk kind of like scene, or even for a photo shoot. The options are practically endless. Alright, so we got a feature pack light and it's powerful. But you think that would end there. but it doesn't. You see, this thing can even be even more versatile because Zhiyun makes, or is making, has already made. Basically, they have this Pro expansion bracket that you can go ahead and attach 4 of these lights in one setup. So instead of this just being a regular tube light, you can go ahead and stack 4 of these, and you pretty much have like an LED panel which you can control all in one app. And you can keep it on however long you want, as long as it's plugged in. And no matter how long you have this plugged in, it doesn't matter because it won't overheat because of all the fans that keep it nice and cool. But just going back to the single light, you can go ahead and run this on a battery alone, as it has an internal charge that allows up to 54 minutes or 4500 milliamps, which can be powered by a power block with PD charging. And I have to say that that 54 minutes is pretty accurate as far as being 100% turned on. Of course, it'll run a little bit longer with it at 50%, and for me, 50% has been where I'm been keeping it, depending on what I'm lighting, how I'm lighting it, and how much strength I actually really need. So how does this light actually perform beyond the spec sheet? Well, I decided to take this light and use it for an indoor portrait session with my wife, and I decided to use this for a lighting setup for video. So for portrait photography, especially for indoors, I like to have a 2-light setup. One for the key light, which is going to be the X60 RGB by Zhiyun. And then here on the side, we have the Cinepeer C100, and that's going to act as our kicker light. And I'll just show you what the difference is or how it's visual. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. This is with the kicker light and the key light. But now let's remove one of those. We're gonna remove the kick light here from the Cinepeer. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. And now just to show you the difference of what it would look like if we just had the kicker light. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Now normally I like to shoot in white scenarios, just having the white light here set to 5600, as well as the Cinepeer set to 5600. But we could also be creative in terms of using RGB as well. For this scenario, I have more of a bluish key light and then a purple kicker. Now do note that the Cinepeer is much stronger than the 60-watt light over here, since that is 100 watts. So I had the power set to about 1 to 4%. But I started to notice that around 4%, 3% around there, that's when you can really start seeing the color, and that I wasn't able to change the color or see the difference in color when it was only at like 1%. So that's just something to keep in mind. Another thing to note is that because I introduced some RGB to the 60-watt light, the output is not as strong, even though it is set to 100%. Hold on to your dress. Yeah, just like this. 1, 2, 3, and then look up at me. What do you think of the photos? Which ones do you prefer? The regular white ones, or do you prefer the ones with color? As someone who really likes to make the most of my gear, being able to use my gear for not only one thing, but also many others, I'm glad that I could also use this for video. And one of the things that I want to see how this thing performed is just how it would look if I were to use this as a key light or even as a kicker light. But if you already have a key light, then you can use it as like a kicker light for your own videos and not just for photography. So it just helps create a little bit of perception depth from the background. And as you can see, the kicker light here, or the tube, is not spilling onto the background. So this way it helps me just pop out than just using the white light right in front of me. Or an alternative means is you can actually put it right behind you and leave it in horizontal mode and just have it spill, and this way you can create a different kind of separation, just splashing the light on the background. I'm using a backdrop, but you of course could just use it on your plain white walls or any kind of wall. One of the things that I do appreciate about this light is that it's very strong. It's a 100-watt light, and if you're not interested in investing in one of those big cob lights, you can easily get one of these and you're set. Especially when you use this soft box cover that just allows for a much more pleasing light than just using the harsh light. Right now I have the soft box right on, but once I take it off, ooh, yeah, that's a strong kicker there. And this is only at 20%. It's already super bright. Since not all gear is perfect, let me let you know the kind of gripes that I had with this product. Well, one of the things that I'm not a fan of is the power button and how you have to do that short press and long press just to turn it on, versus having a switch where you can just go on, off, on, off. The second thing is, yes, it's Bluetooth compatible, but there's no live mode built into this. A lot of Zhiyun lights are able to power through DC power, and you are able to go ahead and set it to live mode, which allows you to automatically have the light turned on as soon as power hits this port, like the RGB 6W light that Zhiyun has. I would like to use this for something like a studio light and just have it mounted on a varipole like I do up there, and just be able to turn on this light with having this plugged into a smart plug. For those of us who want to be able to use tube lights then just as tubes and just be able to place them on the side of structures in our environment. I like the idea that we can have 1, 2, 3, up to 4 lights and be able to have a much more powerful output without having to invest in big cob lights if we don't need them. One of my favorite ways of lighting is by using a piece of diffusion, like a shower curtain, and just shine maybe 1 or 2 of these lights through that. Boom! Nice, beautiful lighting. With tube lights like this, I can imagine recommending other people to use more of these than carrying around cob lights, just to be able to have a much more smaller travel package. But of course, it all depends on your case scenario and what tools are right for your job. This light starts at $299 US with their standard package, or $399 with the combo. Aperture, or Amram, which is another reputable company that is similar to this, has an Aperture Infinity Bar PB3, which is 598 grams, which is much lighter than this and does similar RGB effects as this, but key thing is it's only 9 watts of power, and it's also $299 as well. But yeah, think about it. But in the end, who is this really for? I don't think I would recommend this to straight up beginners who are looking for their first lights and don't know what kind of lights they should get. I think maybe this is more the amateurs, and then of course the pros who need a tube light, who want that versatility, who want to be able to have that all-in-one light that does all the things for their future projects and the projects that they're currently doing. Since this is not going to be a beginner's first light, it's going to be more of like the pros and amateurs second, third, fourth light, where it already comes with the accessories once you get all those combo features and combo accessories. This is great for things like shooting music videos or being able to shoot more creative YouTube videos, or just being a filmmaker on a budget. This light is powerful. It's probably more than enough for many people. If you're looking to level up your photo or video, adding lights, especially powerful ones, is an easy way to do that without having to spend hundreds, if not thousands, on camera bodies and camera lenses. This light is not even powerful enough to be a lightsaber. Whoa! If you're looking to add more quality lights to your kit while at a budget, consider these ones over here.